So welcome everybody to our breakout session today. This is going to be on the future of making, and one of the things that Taizo mentioned this morning that I thought was quite interesting was about the age before the Industrial Revolution, when everybody was a farmer out of necessity. Everybody sort of knew how to do all these things, and today we live in a world that's very fractured in terms of people's access to different materials or capital or healthcare. And so when we think about the future and what it means for us to continue to develop agency and realize a better future for all of us, we're going to be coming from different spaces. And so the panel that we got here today will represent a variety of different lenses through which to view how these futures can sort of exist. And so I would like to give, first of all, a little introduction to some of our panelists here. So I'll start with Tim Tan. So Tim, I've known Tim for a few months, and we just recently worked on a really incredible giant concrete lampshade together here in the factory. But Tim is the chairman of Affordable Abodes, and they're developing environmentally sustainable technology for affordable housing for marginalized communities in Southeast Asia. And so it's a social impact and social environmental impact business. And so it's really focused on core communities in agrotechnology, manufacturing, and construction of environmentally sound, low-cost housing. So Tim, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Maybe give a 2-minute self-introduction, and then we'll run through the rest of the panelists before we start breaking into the discussion.
Yeah, so maybe I just explain how I got into this. I've been in cement, concrete, and building construction for the last almost 30 years. Yes, I'm an old man. Anyways, I got to realize that all this is creating so much carbon in our environment, so much wastage and pollution, and exhausting our resources, our sand, our limestone, and everything that you see on Earth. Most of it is non-renewable. So when I spent some time on missions in Cambodia and in Indonesia, I realized the great need for housing, especially for the bottom of the pyramid. There were people living in slums. Billions. A billion people are short of proper housing. So something needed to be done, and I came across this by a miracle that we could use a plant called kanaf. Kanaf is a hibiscus plant. We can harvest it within 4 months and turn it into thousands of things. It can even be eaten. It can be used for building. We're hoping to even build low-cost fishing boats for the poor fishermen one day. And I can see the applications and adaptations possible in everything that you guys are doing at Microfactory. 3D printing. We're also looking into that as the future for fiber reinforced composite. So that's the direction that we're moving to right now. And pandemic has given me a chance to look at that more seriously, right? Because we need to develop a proper circular economy with all the bells and whistles, all the markets properly developed, and channels that we could feed all these products into.
Yeah, amazing. I think the area of materials research and how we can build through locally available plants and what's available to us is a much more environmentally friendly way, and don't have to deal with the transportation and things like that. I think that's also a good segue into, we have Pan and Emily joining us. And we've had the pleasure of working with these guys since we first started our Microfactory about a year ago. So everything that you've seen, if you were able to join us for the tour, all of that was helped procure, all the wood bits were procured with the assistance of Emily. And so let me give a little introduction to these amazing folks. So, so Pan came from the Architectural Association in London and was chosen as one of the top UK graduates in 2006. So he's had a couple, almost 2 decades of really exceptional work, and he won the second prize for the Avalo International Skyscraper Competition back in 2007. Now he's running an architectural firm called Produce, as well as working with Emily in the superstructures. So I know that they've been doing some really interesting research in things like cross-laminated timber and some alternative building materials. But maybe Pan and Emily, if you guys would like to, again, share a couple-minute introduction about yourselves and what you'd like our audience to know about what you're working on.
Yeah, I have just a short slideshow.
Sure, absolutely.
Let me share screen. Right. So we work as a group of companies. So there is Type 0 Architecture, Superstructure, and Produce.
It looks like you lost your slide share if you're showing it.
Oh, can you see the slide now?
No.
Okay, how about now?
Nope.
Okay, I'll try again. Okay, can you see it now?
Oh, I just saw it pop up.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
It's all black.
Oh dear. Still no. Let me check.
I think it's fine to just give a 2-minute introduction on what we do, and then if they're interested, they can visit our website.
Yeah.
So we started in 2013, and I modeled the company after an institution like a school where we have our own prototyping workshop. So we have a studio and workshop coexisting in one space. Right now, Superstructure has a workshop in Sungai Kadut, and we house the workshop with, we equip the workshop with CNC machines. So now we have a 5-axis CNC machine as well as a 3-axis one. And we use that mainly for experiments, prototyping, as well as also constructing and fabricating work for other people. So our work consists of small interior spaces all the way to installations. And right now we are working with Good Design Singapore to experiment into building components. Just similar to what Tim is doing, we're looking into reconstituted timber as a material for to replace our precast concrete panels. So that's something that we are working on right now. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So I see a lot of the work that you guys doing is kind of pushing the boundaries of modern typical construction and experimenting in sort of traditional business manufacturing processes. And then the next panelist we have is Changlai, and Changlai was introduced to me through Wouter, our resident digital manufacturing expert in 3D printing. So Changlai is the founder of One Unify and has been working on sort of connecting humans, machines, and the environment on an artificial platform. And he's been doing that for well over 20 years and has experience in the digital and interactive technologies. So sorry we can't see you today, but maybe you could share a little bit about the work that you're doing and introduce yourself to us.
Yeah, hi Shane. Thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, man.
Yep. So currently, One Unified, we are focusing on the AI aspect of sports. The area that we are always emphasizing on is on the humans, the machines, and the environment. So in the aspect of the humans, currently we are focusing on the swimming as well as football. That we analyze how the swimmers do the swim strokes and stuff like this. So what we hope to achieve is there is actually an outcome from the data that we learned, and you can assist the coach or manager to make a decision. As for the machine part, that is the part that me and Walter, we are currently trying to come up with sort of like a circular economy. Yeah, so this one is something probably we will elaborate more, but that is the area that we want to apply this on the art scene. When I say the art scene, we refer to the fine art, the painting, or the sculptures of artists that we hope through some form of blockchains, we hope to create a circular economy out of this. Yeah, so that is the aspect. As for the environment part, I think this is something maybe Han might be interested in. Because we actually deal with the FM side, which is the facility management. So we deal with the C2 SCADA system. They deal with the chiller and the sensors of the lights of the air, etc. So for that part, our emphasis is less on the energy management, which it's all about energy management. Is about cost saving, etc. Okay, so we are big into this. It's more for the capitalist side. For us, we are more towards the egalitarian. We are more concerned about the wellness of the people residing inside the building, right? How all the air, the temperature, etc. What is the optimal for the well-being of the people? So that is actually what we are doing here.
We just lost a couple of our folks. I don't know what happened there. Let me reconnect them. And then we also have some of our team from Microfactory here at Audacity. So Kim is one of our newest members who has been working with us for about a month now. And so she's a classically trained fashion designer and now is teaching at one of the local universities. She used to run her own makerspace, so was teaching, pottery and a bunch of other stuff in there. Kim, would you like to give like a short intro to yourself?
Everyone, so I would think myself as a maker with like curiosity in like the arts and crafts, and also I'm very keen in like educating and like allowing others like to lower the barriers of entry for others into learning how to create things in general. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. And then we also have Wouter and Mihao who keep playing peekaboo with us. So Wouter is, I mentioned, used to run us and Mihao is one of our community architects. I'm going to mute them. They're making a little bit of noise.
Is it because of us?
I guess due to the times running behind and these introductions, maybe we can just kind of jump into this theme about agency as a discovered or created through the act of making. And so how is it that building and making and getting, rolling up our sleeves and exploring these areas of how do we make things, how does that contribute towards solving the ability for people to have agency and autonomy and I guess it's kind of a fuzzy big question, but if anybody interested in taking a stab at how they process that, love to hear from you.
So maybe I can start first.
Cool.
Yeah. So we started our company mainly because of a frustration that I had that our industry is very fragmented. I'm referring to the architecture industry where a lot of the components are very trade-based. So it's based on different trades. And then the entire discipline is broken down into different consultants and specialists. In that view, a lot of people are leaving the interfacing between these disciplines as well as the different trades almost up to chance. And because of, I guess, the how the risks are being portioned out within this group, there's no one that's kind of stepping forward to combine all these different components together. So we started a company where at least we take on certain portions, such as the fabrication, as well as even some structural testing on a prototype scale, one-to-one scale within our factory. So it's about gaining more control of our processes, and I guess that is our first step at gaining a little bit of autonomy. Therefore, now going forward after like 6 years or 7 years doing this, we feel that, especially with the pandemic now, there's a big push for digitalization, and we are in the process of converting all our workflow to BIM, building information management, so that we can then combine different disciplines into a single file, let's say, or a single workflow. Therefore, that would make the entire flow easier, smoother, almost like how the automobile industry is. Like you see a car and everything is supposed to be there, is kind of interfacing properly. So we're trying to build our practice around that now.
Just want to add on to what Pan was saying is that previously, I think maybe not so long ago, 50 years ago, maybe in Singapore, we always like a lot of carpenters, we are building our own things. I think that going into digital fabrication helps us really make carpentry more accessible to the current generation, especially when we don't grow up making our own like furniture. So by using like digital fabrication or working, drawing on the computer, we really invite the population and people around our age group to come back and learn how to make stuff for our built environment.
Yeah, that reminds me actually of some of the initiatives that we have that Nihal's been working on, of a way that people can be at home working on the design and then kind of send that to the factory to be built. Like you guys have some incredible CNC machines at your space, 3-axis and 5-axis, big machines. And so using like kind of parametric design principles, I could be here and drag and drop and scale things, you know, as I want. That's perfectly personalized for me. It could be flat pack, cut out and flat packed, and then assembled back at the designer's residence. Would you like to talk about any of that?
Yeah, so for a long time, I think the design industry is very subservient to what the technology can offer. So we've been designing based on really old technology. So we are coming to a stage where we start to design the machines to produce what we want to produce. You know, with the advancement of these digital tools, scripting, knowledge in scripting, programming, and all that, we are slowly starting to be able to design our own tools. So we are no longer, we are less kind of subservient to these technologies that are out there. Yeah.
So are people making their own machines and kind of hacking these industrial machines to be less less focused, purpose, like to make them more open?
Not enough. We hope that there are more.
Yeah. I mean, you can modify your CNC machine to do vacuum forming, for example, or you could modify your CNC machine to do some 3D printing by adding a nozzle to it. So it depends on what we want to do, and then therefore, going forward, we can find the expertise to kind of modify our workflow, modify our tools, and then that will become specialized for the purpose of whatever work we are trying to do there.
Yeah, I guess it's finding somebody that's curious enough or has enough of a need where they're interested to go in and monkey around with something or play with it to get it to perform the function that they want. And I'm wondering, Tim, maybe that's something that you've experienced with people that are making the kanafcrete. Have you seen any transformation in the way people feel about themselves after they've been sort of able to kind of work on building their own homes?
Yeah, I think, when we first employed our kampong boys, our village staff, they had no idea what they were doing. But as soon as they started building for their own community, it totally changed their mindset. They totally flipped. They started to take ownership of what they were doing. So that was really exciting to see. It's all about educating people on the possibilities. So really, because we hope to engage more local farmers to plant kanaf, the end game is, the farmers can grow their own house, right? And so that's what they're beginning to see. And it's encouraging because right now, whatever they're planting in terms of paddy or other crops are failing due to climate change. When it comes time to harvest paddy, you need to have dry weather, but it's raining, and so the crops, the seeds will get rotten. So this is a good change to see that people are realizing that they can have other sustainable income and actually build for their own community rather than, we actually import cement from Japan, for crying out loud, right? That's crazy. It doesn't get any crazier than that. It's good cement, but gosh, the amount of carbon that we produce and the amount of cost that we pay for transporting this stuff down just doesn't make any sense at all. So really, what we want is to have a complete building structure. Even not just the walls but the foundation, the ground slabs, the roofings, the entire building structure should be made out of kanaf and CLT. And we're looking at CLT, Pan, Emily. The other thing that we're working on, just very quickly, is exactly what Walter is an expert at, and I really salute him for that. Is the 3D printing of prefabricated panels. I don't think it's ever been done before. What 3D printing is doing right now is just building a whole structure, which means you got to move big machines in to build a house, right? And if you're going to build it in a little tiny village with no proper road infrastructure to get in there, it's virtually impossible. So the idea, came out because of the pandemic. Our big factory was locked down. We couldn't run our big machinery. But then, because of 3D, the possibilities of 3D printing, we could actually modularize the factory, containerize it, put it into the village, and during a time like this, a family unit could be working together on this, so they could continue building and production regardless of what's going on around here.
Yeah, a couple points that jumped out at me were, you mentioned the, shipping concrete from Japan is crazy. And if you think about, the planetary boundary conditions and what is sustainable practice of things that we can continue to do, well, obviously shipping cement from Japan is not one of those. And so, a lot of the things that we're trying to think about is upcycling or using other waste streams and how can we repurpose those and to build into something that currently has a longer lifetime value. So plastic upcycling, things like that. And you also mentioned like being able to deploy things. So what's the logistics of being able to build in these remote and challenging environments? And you said it's virtually impossible. And I thought that was a good segue into Chonglai of making things virtually possible. Because if you work in a digital space, you can build whatever you want, right? These are digital realities. And so I think creating and constructing and building a future that we can engage with in a digital space is also a good place to explore. We can model things out. We can use the concepts of digital twins to build things to see how they're going to perform, or if we do them, or we can play around in those in like VR spaces, right? So Chonglai, do you have anything that you'd like to share about kind of building environments in virtual reality or digital spaces?
Okay, so I'm going to copy a link. I'm going to paste at where I'm typing. So this is actually a project that we have done for Audi. It's actually a commercial project, but it actually gives a taste of how a digital twin can be. So this is actually in 2015, and we try to mix the virtual reality with the actual real life. So what it actually does is, in the VR world, when you actually get chauffeured around wearing the VR, you can't wear the VR and drive. Yeah, so a driver will actually drive you around. So once you enter the bridge, sort of like the Back to the Future bridge, everything will sync. So the VR is actually synced with the GPS. So when you look to the right, you see a museum or a building structure. You will look exactly like it in the VR world, except that it's in 1965. Yeah. So you will see the Cheongsam lady, and you will see the rickshaw man, and you will see the person rowing on the rope, because over the bridge there's a river. Used to be really crowded with people actually rowing the boat. Yeah. So it's actually Italy's the virtual and the real can actually be digital twins. Yeah. So in effect, what our next step is how we can actually, from the virtual world, we can affect the real world, and from the real world, we can also interact with the virtual world. So that is the concept of the digital twin. So in between, what we required are all the machines, the sensors, the cameras, etc. So, but I think there's a lot of abuse, like is being used currently, like to invade a lot of people's privacy. Yeah, so we are trying to stay away from that. But what we want to see is like, what if this goodness, this digital twin can be used to achieve greater good? So that is. Hence, we actually pick a few segment. One is art. We want to use it to say, what if waters, the recycled materials, right, can be when art can be digitalized, it can become sort of not just art that we made it from the recycled material, but what if the art can be scanned? And then you use it to create the artwork using recycled material. And people actually treat that, where I'm participating into the art or I'm buying into the art, I'm also helping the recycling process. Yeah. So this is, I would say this Audi is a purview of what we hope to explore with Water's team. Making use of the 3D scanner as well as the 3D printer here.
Well, I don't know if Wouter can chime in here. I think he's having some audio.
No, I can try. I'm boring. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the 3D scanning is a very powerful tool. What we're seeing right now is a lot of laser scanners being phased out. There's a market between the high end and the low end, which is just, I think there's an iPhone program. I'll drop you guys a link later on that you can just take an iPhone, unfortunately only iPhone, and you can scan and photogrammetry and create a 3D model in minutes. Meanwhile, our 3D printer scanner takes at least 20 minutes 120 different photos in a second or two, and just stitch them all together takes at least 20 minutes because the amount of data, we're churning through about a gigabyte of data or so. But I think if you can see later on, the model itself that is output is high enough of a resolution to be used for a video game even. Let's say on the Unreal Engine or the Unity for web games. And the model itself is actually not that big, 80 megabytes, which is pretty decent. Easily, we can send them over Wi-Fi these days. And as a result, we can also send, let's say, like Chong Lai was mentioning, scanned furniture or scanned art to somebody else to print. Although he is sitting 20 meters behind me, if he was in another country, I would be able to send Shane, a piece of furniture I designed. Or he goes, hey man, I like that chair that you've got. All right, let me scan it and send it over to you without having to digitally CAD it out or, draw it out in a sense.
Yeah, and I think there's now becoming marketplaces for these designs to kind of open source or share this knowledge, so that maybe I created a very fun stool, but my brother is pretty tall, so I maybe need a bigger stool for my brother, or my niece. Well, she's pretty big too. Maybe my friends' kids, I want to build them something so I could scale it down. But it's kind of having this customizability, and then especially with the stuff that we've been exploring with our 3D printer is how can we also, after we've made something, break it down again and reuse it so that the lifetime value of that material is retained. So we have a chipper that we can grind it all down and then use that and build it back into something else. I'm wondering.
Our 3D printer, one of the good things about it is it is able to use a variety of materials, and it's not very picky about the materials that it uses. We designed it that way so that one day you can take ABS, PLA, recycled plastic. In the beginning, all our plastics were coming from Japan, which is, like Tim said, insanely crazy, because we're shipping something that costs, on average, $5 a kilo. It cost us triple what we paid for the material to ship it here. And only because we couldn't find something that exactly matched the specs of what the plastics that, we were trying to print. But when we found a local and a Malaysian supplier that made PLA, cornstarch, potato starch, bioplastic material, a little tweak on the temperature, and then we're good to go. We could print just like any other, commercial grade plastic, and that's what we're trying to do: is use reuse plastic waste streams that would actually otherwise get thrown away, as a way to sort of stop this one-time use throwaway plastic kind of mentality.
Yeah, I guess that's another element of understanding your impacts on things. When people are able to start exploring how these things are made or where they're coming from, or understanding kind of the life cycles of what happens to them when I throw them away, you start to have a better appreciation and awareness of your impacts in the world. And I think, it's a balancing act. So as Tim mentioned, when people are able to start building and get this light bulb moment, or the first time you have a successful structure that doesn't fall down, or maybe you're testing. I know, Pan, you guys are experimenting with some lightweight materials for cross-laminated timber alternatives. So it's bringing kind of things that have only been in large-scale enterprise sort of mass deployments, and the benefits that those have. If you can get cost savings and make that kind of open to everybody to use, then it democratizes the use of these features. And through that, people can, I guess, develop faster, right? It's so empowering when you teach someone. It's like teach someone to fish versus giving them a fish. That's not how it goes. But how do you get people in mass to start shifting a mindset? Are you seeing? I mean, I think Tim is seeing this with the work he's doing. Do you guys see this impact in any of the work you guys do, Pan and Emily or Changlai?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have a point to make with respect to the materials that you get. Like water actually get the materials and it costs 3 times the cost. So I actually hope to see more of the initiative. Not that it's a nationalism or anything, but localized produce. We encourage, say the paper or the pulp. I think recently I've seen 3 brothers trying to use the Singapore woods to make their furniture, right? But what I'm looking at the level is the materials, recycled materials, actually come locally. And it sort of can give the identity to say, hey, that paper is used by, say, a certain artist. Because while it's painting, there's a lot of paper being accumulated until the final masterpiece is achieved. But those paper that the artist thrown away can be actually collated and actually turned into pulp and recycled into recycled paper. That's what I meant, just a point, what identity of the recycled produce. Yeah, so I hope to see more of this, and if we encourage more of this, I think we can actually see a lot of positive adoption, and I think the growth will be positive as well. And I hope we can also give more support to such kind of initiative. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point to raise, is that the work that we're doing here in Microfactory, and the reason that we're even having this virtual open city is for bringing people together. So anybody that's watching this or has an opportunity to see this, we want you to know that the purpose is, how can we work together? Are there projects? Are there initiatives? Maybe they're not commercially viable right now, but it's a step towards the right direction. Right now it's very difficult to recycle PET bottles, but they're the most common bottles, right? Water bottles, and they're everywhere. And there's not any really accessible way to upcycle those in a small scale production. We have this permacolony challenge coming up, and the applications are open right now. So I invite all of you to see if there's some challenges there that speak to you, that you've got some ideas that you want to explore and try out. We've got a great area just through the backside of our microfactory here, 40,000 square feet, where we're going to be deploying and building over the next coming years a lot of these ideas and working together to make that happen. And so we're coming up at the end of our time here. We're a little bit over. We started 15 minutes late. We're coming up on 15 minutes. We've got a virtual party. I don't know how that's doing yet, but maybe there's some fun stuff over there. But I wanted to give everyone a chance to say anything else that you'd like to share or speaks to you. Now's a chance to do that. Otherwise, we'll start heading over to the party. Tim, you have any?
Well, yeah, thanks, Shane. I think this is a terrific session. I can see so many potential, collaborations. We didn't get to hear from Kim that much, but I was sharing with her the other day that, canaf fibers can even be woven into clothing or textiles, or so many things can be done. So I'd like to have some another opportunity sometime where, well, maybe when the pandemic is over and when phase 3, we could all have dinner together and chat about some good ideas that we've been talking about here. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's been great knowing so many people in this movement, and definitely look forward to collaboration opportunities. And so we are all decentralizing our production right now, or at least going towards that. And then I see lots of possibilities where we can work together, especially with the 3D printing guys, and definitely with Tim on the reconstitution of materials to replace concrete. Way to go. Yeah.
Any parting words of wisdom, Changlai? No. Yeah. Okay. So I think for the next the Q4 of this year, on our side, what we hope to do a proof of concept, probably likely together with water, is to see whether we can get the economy part of this aspect going. When I mean by economy part, we were actually thinking of doing some experimental site with the blockchain to give it a value. And I think key thing is no matter what, we have to get this. We can't escape from economy. Yeah, but the thing is we can make the economy more socialist, more to be more inclusive. I think that is what we hope. Right. Yes, and I think one of the things that we personally hope to achieve is to see how we can actually help the artists and artists, maybe even established artists, or what can they do, like to pass on to the young emerging artists and get this economy running in between them. So this is something we hope to target no later by early next year, first Jan, latest this December. Yeah. So Walter, you're aware of the timeline.
The first item.
Right,
Yeah,
thanks.
great.
Thank you everyone as well. I mean, we hope to also, be surprised by and new doesn't have to be fancy, high-tech, carbon nanotubes, graphene, nothing like that. Something as simple as coconut fibers. There's 3 different fibers in a coconut shell. There's an abundance of it in Southeast Asia, which we don't have, let's say, back in Japan. Extremely strong, but people often overlook these kind of things. I'm trying myself. I really want to put a stop to oyster shell waste and sugarcane. And it's a huge problem. I want to incorporate it somehow without breaking my 3D printer into the plastics. And yeah, that's pretty much what we're looking forward to. So if anybody has any kind of ideas about new materials, how we can incorporate 3D printing in a way that it's not traditional, not just your normal, here, let's make a vase or a stool or a chair, and I'm all up for it. At least we could say we tried and then move on.
Yeah, so thank you, everyone. And I look forward to seeing each of you face to face sometime soon. I think it'll be, good times ahead. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.